Alright, I want to start off this video by saying I hope I am wrong about this. I am a big Klay Thompson fan. I think he's very fun. I think he's a fun defender. He's good at shooting. He's fun. He makes the Warriors fun. And it's good to have teams that are fun in this league. But I am very concerned about his return, and I don't think many people have been talking about this. I think most people have just chalked it up to the point where they assume he's going to come back as Klay Thompson and be the player that he was, and I just don't see that happening. The big reason I'm not really afraid about the 21 points. That will probably drop. I would predict around 18. I think he's going to shoot more threes than he ever did, because I don't think he's going to be able to get to the basket as much. Because he probably is going to lose a step. He did tear an ACL in one leg and then tore his Achilles in the other leg. He hasn't played in 2 years, which doesn't sound like a lot, but let me paint the NBA landscape for you 2 years ago. This is just some things I wrote off on the top of my head. Raptors hadn't won the title yet, obviously. He tore the Achilles in the final. Luka just finished his rookie season. I don't know if he technically got awarded the Rookie of the Year yet. LeBron had his first year on the Lakers where they didn't make the playoffs and they're horrible. No AD on that team. AD was on the Pelicans. Giannis won his first MVP that year. Trailblazers made the conference finals. That sounds like it was so long ago. And COVID hadn't hit yet. CP3 was a rocket. Harden was a rocket. I can continue on this forever. I think Drummond might have been still a Piston even. Which is crazy to think that the league was so different. But a lot has changed in 2 years, and which is good. I think the league was pretty boring back then. But back to Klay Thompson. The big thing, and I'm just trying to prove how long 2 years of no basketball is. And I know he's been practicing, but NBA players say all the time that there's nothing like the true game. There's nothing like the games that you play. So I'm going to talk about the Warriors. The Warriors, what has made them good, in my opinion, is the fact that they are the highest defensive rating in the league right now. Their offensive rating, obviously, is very high as well. I don't know what that is, but this is more about a defense right now, this whole entire video. The defensive rating by the Warriors has been the highest in the league. They're a very switchable team. Klay was a very switchable guard. He could go on to I would be comfortable with Klay guarding a 1 through 3. He's a bigger guard. That's not Klay. He's 6'6", he's a bigger guard. He can really guard people well. But I'm going to go into why the Warriors' defense has been good. And I'm going to go talk about who he would be replacing, and that's Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole has been not only doing really well on offense, he's been doing very well from the three-point line, not as much as Klay has, but, he's been scoring. But the greater thing that he's been doing, I think, is on his defense. And I could be wrong about the defensive rating and how it's supposed to be tracked on NBA basketball reference, excuse me. God bless this site. But I if it's anything like this, I'm just basing it off this. You want your defensive rating to be low. At least that's for teams. That's what I would assume. I checked Giannis's basketball reference. And he had a low number defensive rating as well. So, let's see. Yeah, his number was also low. So, I would assume low is good. Scoring's been down this year. So, that's why everybody's defensive rating's lower than the previous seasons. 97. Holy shit. Okay. But he's at 105. And I'm going to compare that to some other players to put that in reference. We just saw Giannis. He's at 102. And this is, to my knowledge, it's how many points your opponent would score on you in 100 possessions. I'm not quite sure if that's how it's calculated. I don't know how they calculate the stat. I just know it's supposed to be lower. I'm going to compare that to a couple players. 105. That means nothing without a comparison. Let's go to Jimmy Butler. Everybody knows Jimmy Butler's an amazing defender. 104. In similar position, he guards similar players. That's pretty good. Lou Dort. Lou Dort's not as great as defender as Jimmy Butler, but you're probably thinking, oh, Lou Dort is probably just as good a defender as Jordan Poole. But Jordan Poole is doing way better on defense. I know Dort's been taking more of an offensive role this year, but Dort has been not as good on defense. The other stat I want to talk about is defensive win share. So this is basically how many games your team wins because you're on the floor in defense. It's an estimate. Jordan Poole is at 1.3. I think this stat is more of a better one. I think this is probably what they use greater to judge the all NBA teams, I would assume. Because Jimmy Butler's are much higher. He's at 1.1 this year, but he was at 2.7 last year and the year before that. Again, I don't know if I've watched any Heat games this year, so I don't know how good Jimmy's doing. He's only played 19 games, so he's been injured. Okay, but anyway, 2.7. I'm more going to compare his season last year to Poole's, and he did 108 last year. Where Poole, again, for both, he's only at 1.3. The season still has to progress. The stat increases the more games you play. So, obviously, the more games he'll play, the stat will get increased. 1.3 is a good start. I think that's the scary part is, and I'll give you an example. Klay Thompson's defense was amazing. His defensive rating wasn't high, 112, 111 compared to Poole. 107 and 108 are crazy, 104. But his win shares were really high, as you see 2-3, 1-8, 2-9, 2-6, 3-1, 3-2. I think that his defense was the reason that he was a star and not just a role player spot shooter. I know it's also the fact that he shot 41% from 3, but it also gets compounded that he was one of the best perimeter defenses in the league. One of the best perimeter defenders in the league. I think that without that, he isn't what he was. And I think the fact that the Warriors are doing so well on defense, and if you insert someone that's not as good on defense, not to cover, because Steph Curry isn't the best defender. Everybody knows this. He's been getting better. And Jordan Poole has been doing a great job of hiding him on defense, being able to hide Curry on defense. And that's what you need. That's what Klay Thompson could do while still knocking out shots. But I think Poole's been doing a great job. That's what Draymond's role is as well. And if you take that out, where does this defensive win share go up? Does this rating go up? Did the Warriors' defense fall? I think no matter what, the first couple games for Klay are going to be rough. He's going to be rusty. There's going to be less chemistry with playing with him. This roster is a completely different roster than what he left. But I think the greater question is how badly he's going to be injured, how bad it's going to look. Is he going to be able to come back as normal? I mean, I don't know. We're seeing Kevin Durant come back as normal. I hope he is, but like I said, there's plenty of players that got this injury, this Achilles injury, that it is struggle. They're a struggle to come back to be the player that they were. I mean, you look at Kobe, you look at DeMarcus. They both got killed by this injury. For a Mavs player, Dwight Powell hasn't been the same since he tore his Achilles. And it really does reduce mobility. And that's one thing people say Klay wasn't based on athleticism, but I don't think that's a true statement. He was based off running around. His off-ball movement was great. His defense was great. And that's what made him great. And I'm really scared about the fact that he's not going to do that anymore. And this whole entire point of the video is this talk about how Klay Thompson coming back isn't a guarantee. I want to get your hopes up, personally. It's a serious injury. Not playing professional basketball in 2 years is huge, and I'm really worried that he won't be the same, and that a lot of Warriors fans are going to get upset, and the league's going to get upset, and this is just my take. I'm very skeptical about Klay Thompson's return, and that's really all I gotta say. I used my stream setup with the whole entire camera for this video, no BS. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you.